I tried to assert myself, and now I need to lie down and listen to a TED Talk.
The Spiritual Shitshow podcast with Suzanne Sole, episode
20 motherfucking 4. Hey, you sparkling fucking diamonds, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast, where we get into the complete shit show the healing and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Sole, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I'm sharing some of the delicious tea and crumpets I've learned along my journey that have helped me, and that I hope help you too. So, what does it mean to use your voice? Is it just saying words? Is it yelling in a quarry? Is it finally telling your aunt you don't want her leftover lasagna or her unsolicited opinions about your love life? Sort of. But wait, there's more. Because using your voice isn't just about snappy comebacks or saying what you do or don't want. It's about something deeper. Truth-telling, boundary setting, self-ownership, nervous system shaking courage. The part of us that says, this is who I am, even when it's scary or unpopular or inconvenient. It means saying the shit that actually lives in your soul, not the watered down smiley version you sometimes post on Facebook. It's speaking up when your insides are like, hey, this matters, even though your brain's like, let's just keep the peace and die slowly on the inside, shall we? It's not about telling other people who you think they are. It's not about judging others or yelling at others because of their personality or humanity. It's about speaking for your feelings, needs, and truth. And it's never about telling the other person why they're wrong for who they are or anything like that, BT dubs. It's not about proving you're right and someone else is wrong. It's about showing up for yourself like you're someone worth listening to, which, spoiler alert, you are. Many of us have been trained to believe our voices are dangerous, dramatic, or just plain too much. But the truth? Your voice isn't the problem. In fact, it's the fucking power source of your life. It's how you stop abandoning yourself in real time. It's how you stop ghosting your own damn feelings. It's how you get free. Author Brené Brown says authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. So we're going to talk about saying the fucking thing, even when it's awkward, even when your voice cracks, even when your inner people pleaser is in the corner clutching a pillow for dear life and powerating a box of Twinkies. All right, so let's fucking go. Using your voice sounds easy enough. You know, you open your mouth, you make some sounds, maybe throw in a gesture if you're feeling spicy, and boom, you've spoken. But for a lot of us, using our voice feels less like a natural birthright and more like standing naked in front of a panel of Olympic judges who are ready to rate your personality on a scale from 1 to crippling shame. Let's be real. It's fucking hard to speak up sometimes, especially if you grew up in a house where expressing yourself was an act of treason. Some of us had parents who encouraged us to use our voice and express ourselves, and those are the folks who grow up to write think pieces and order complicated coffee drinks with confidence. And some of us learned to read a room like our lives depended on it. We didn't use our voice. We curated it like a fucking fashion accessory. Does this opinion go with this crowd? No? Well, then let me just put it back in my designer soul satchel and nod politely. This just in, not using your voice doesn't actually make things easier. It makes you feel resentful and out of touch with yourself. You find yourself rage eating pretzels or mad scrolling at 2 a.m. because you couldn't bring yourself to speak up when your coworker offered you up as a volunteer to create a quick little presentation that will take up your entire Friday and probably the weekend. Instead, you smiled, nodded, and said, sure, no problem, while your soul quietly packed a bag and considered moving to the woods. Now you're standing in the kitchen, deep-throating carbs and thinking, I should have said something. I should have at least asked that motherfucker to help. The importance of using your voice is about telling yourself that you exist. It's about taking up space with the one sound that is uniquely, beautifully you. It's the sonic version of saying, hey, I'm here, motherfucker. Even if it comes out as, can we pick out a different restaurant? I don't love that one. Or, no, Bob, I don't want to join your nutritional supplements MLM. Now, when you listen to this, if you're like, fuck, that is totally me, don't feel bad because you are so so not alone. And you can get better at using your voice, but FYI, being a badass at using your voice won't be an instant transformation. It'll take some time. So you may not immediately be like, gee, after listening to this podcast, I've decided that today's the day I channel Beyonce and demand what I deserve. No, it starts small, like practicing using your voice in the mirror, then maybe saying it out loud to a person. Eventually, you're at a dinner party and someone says something demeaning, and instead of blacking out or nervously laughing, you say, hey, that's not cool. And then you hug the nearest person like a support doll. But still, you said it. And that's progress with a P. That rhymes with T, which stands for that is awesome. Because using your voice is a muscle, and like any muscle, it needs exercise, rest, and sometimes it cramps the fuck up and you have to walk around with a limp and explain to your friends, I tried to assert myself and now I need to lie down and listen to a TED Talk. Sometimes I practice saying out loud what I want to express to someone, to work it out. So I can work out what I really want to say, what is the most important thing I want to express. And when I do that, it does help me to first get my frustration out so I can say what I mean to say, not just what my emotional triggers want me to say, which might muddle the true purpose for speaking out. So highly recommended practice, because using our voice is so fucking important, and maybe more important than we might even realize. Eh? Because you want to hear something really fucking cool? Using your voice actually helps you to discover who the fuck you actually are. I'm not fucking kidding. I mean the real you. Maybe a you haven't even met yet because you're so busy being the you that everyone decided you should be. And that is a you who may not always use her voice. Listen, pumpkin, I have been a people pleaser all my motherfucking life. Terrified of upsetting others, constantly judging my own feelings and needs. AKA, I have been basically gaslighting myself for most of my life, saying things to myself like, I'm probably just being oversensitive, or what will they think of me? And this is the best part. Insert sarcasm here. For a very long time, other people's opinions were life and death to me. I truly didn't believe I would survive if they, whoever they were in the moment, were judging me negatively. OMG, I would think I was gonna die. And I still have to work with the triggers that come up when I use my voice to express my thoughts and feelings, especially if I think those thoughts and feelings could possibly put me in a vulnerable position to be intensely judged by others, or when I actually experience their judgment when I use my voice. Then it's a lot of deep breathing and reminding myself I'm worthy of being loved even when I don't please the people. And it wasn't until I started to express myself and breathe through the discomfort and panic that I started to learn about who I really am, authentically, as a person. Before that, I just felt like a confused human casserole half the time, with no idea what was me and what was just my social survival breadcrumb topping. We redirect, we people please, we shape shift like emotionally exhausted chameleons, just trying to make it through dinner. And what does that do? It makes us trust ourselves less. We second guess everything like, oh, did that hurt my feelings, or am I just being sensitive? Is this boundary fair, or am I being selfish? Do I want this, or is it just that everyone else wants it and I'm on autopilot with a smile plastered on my face like a demented cruise director? The more we stifle that inner voice, that gut level, soul deep, real voice, the more we start handing out our decision-making power like a realtor handing out business cards at a social event. Hi there! I'm letting others decide how I should feel about stuff. Isn't that incredible? It's a total steal, and it comes with all kinds of amenities, like you get to determine if I'm overreacting, you get to narrate my experience, and you get to generally be the decider of whether I'm legitimate or not. Isn't that just absolutely fantastic? And I'll only retain 6% of my own decision-making power, so it's a win-win. A lot of us were conditioned to see our authentic feelings as too much or wrong or a lot to deal with, especially when those feelings were inconvenient or disruptive. So we may have internalized the idea that speaking up means being bad, selfish, or dramatic, and we started thinking that quiet compliance was the way to win at life, when really it's the way to lose yourself in the Bermuda Triangle of approval and opinions. But catch 22, because using your voice isn't just about being heard by other people, even if most of the time it requires you to be heard by other people. It's about hearing yourself show up for yourself. It's about finally tuning back into yourself after years of turning the volume down on your own truth. When you speak, really speak, it's like you turn on a light and go, oh shit, there I am. I've been here the whole time. Under all this performative politeness and emotional crowd control. Who knew? Using your voice doesn't make you a problem. It makes you a person. A whole ass person with thoughts, edges, desires, and probably a weird laugh and some anxiety about confrontation, but still worthy of being expressed, worthy of being known. First by you, then by everyone else who's lucky enough to be in your orbit. It's about showing up for yourself, like, hey me, I see you. I got you. Let's not abandon ourselves in this awkward moment just to make it more comfortable for Bob. And FYI, a lot of times we assume Bob needs us to make him comfortable, and many times other people don't need us to pretend to be someone we're not. We just might think they do because of our programming in our noggins. Because sometimes they're like, just say what you want to say, for crying out loud. And when you are authentically using your voice to express yourself, it doesn't mean you're being combative. It means you're done being your own emotional doormat. It means you're not interested in slowly destructing in the name of being chill. It means you love yourself enough to say, hey, I'm not doing that thing where I pretend everything is fine while dissociating and nibbling on resentment like a corn on the cob. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need a PowerPoint presentation or a sage burning ceremony, unless that's your thing, in which case, sage away, sage queen. You just need your actual feelings and the bravery to let them exit your face hole. And will it feel awkward? Of course it will. You might say it weird. You might over-explain, apologize halfway through, or throw in a nervous joke that makes zero sense. Yeah, just boundaries, like a fence, but for my soul? No one, just me? It doesn't matter. You're still doing it. You're still stepping up for yourself, and that is a whole damn vibe. And let's be real. Your voice is not a weapon. It's a flashlight for you to see your truth, and maybe for those who are interested in knowing the real you. Because you're not here to attack. You're here to illuminate. You're saying, here's where I am. Here's what's true for me. And anyone who thinks that's too much probably benefits from you staying silent. And that is not your motherfucking problem, my friend. That is a them issue. You're just trying to feel less like a tightly coiled ball of emotional spaghetti and more like a grounded adult with working vocal cords. So when we make the decision not to use our voice to show up for ourselves, it's usually not the result of peaceful reflection or deep spiritual alignment. It's usually more like a high-speed mental triathlon powered entirely by fear. Most of the time, we're not calmly considering what we feel and expressing it with clarity. We're overthinking, overanalyzing, and spiraling down a rabbit hole of what-ifs faster than you can say, I don't want to make a scene. It usually goes something like this. You feel something. You think, maybe I should say something. Then your inner fear committee chimes in. Ooh, do you really want to rock the boat? What if it's awkward? What if they misunderstand? What if you sound needy or wrong or emotional? And just like that, your truth takes a back seat while fear drives the car with sweaty hands and no GPS. We tell ourselves all kinds of stories to keep quiet. It's probably not a big deal, or I'll just bring it up later. But later sometimes never comes. And not a big deal somehow builds up into a full-blown emotional volcano that erupts during an unrelated situation, like a grocery store parking lot or a group text gone off the rails. And sometimes when we feel that hesitation to speak up, it may be because we're standing at the edge of something real. something meaningful. And that is vulnerable. And you know how we love to escape to the ends of the earth to avoid being vulnerable, especially if you've spent years learning to keep the peace, not making waves, generally being easy to deal with, and definitely not putting yourself in a position to get hurt. Because let's face it, getting hurt fucking sucks. And nobody wants that. But you know what else is real? Your voice. And it deserves to be heard, not just by others, but by you. Every time you speak your truth, even if it's awkward or imperfect, or your voice shakes like it's doing karaoke for the first time, you're reminding yourself that you matter. Your experience matters. What you feel matters. Even if it's not popular, even if it's uncomfortable, even if someone doesn't get it right away. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. Fear's going to pop up like overzealous stage moms on toddlers and tiaras every time you try to be vulnerable. The goal is to not let fear be the boss. You get to feel afraid and speak anyway. You get to feel unsure and you still can stand in your truth. That is not weakness. That is courage, boo. Quiet, powerful, deeply human courage. And the more you practice, even in small ways, the more you realize that fear doesn't mean stop. It just means this matters. And whenever folks, and all of us do this sometimes, try to talk us out of our own opinions, stances, beliefs, and sometimes even our dinner order, especially the ones closest to us, it's not because they're bad people. Most people, besides malignant narcissists and sociopaths, are not trying to gaslight us into becoming a confused, passive-aggressive meatball. No, most do it because they're human, flawed, freaked out, well-meaning humans with their own unhealed shit. This can be played out in situations where you express an opinion that doesn't match theirs. Like your well-meaning Aunt Jackie asks you, "Honey, when are you going to get married and settle down?" And you say, "Well, I don't want to get married and move to the suburbs right now, Aunt Jackie. And I'm actually not sure that's what I want for myself at all." And what Aunt Jackie hears you say is, "Aunt Jackie, I think your values are meaningless." And so she decides she now must defend her lifestyle like it's under siege. You were just being honest about your feelings and desires. It wasn't even about Aunt Jackie, who BTW asked you about your life. And you answered what is true for you. But boom, now you're in a surprise debate with your Aunt Jackie about why kids are not the only path to fulfillment while she clutches her rosé like it's holy water. So what is a possible reason for this scenario? Well, it could be because your truth makes Aunt Jackie uncomfortable when you say something that challenges what she believes about herself, about her life, about how things are or should have gone or shouldn't have gone. And she may feel a little tug in her soul, a little uh-oh that whispers, "What if I got it all wrong?" And instead of sitting quietly with that discomfort like a Buddhist monk with a fidget spinner, she tries to fix you so you line up with the standards she may have been taught to believe when she was growing up. But the times, they are a-changin', and we get to decide how to live our one precious life, not Aunt Jackie, even though she is adorable with her bouffant hairdo and delightful Christmas cookies. So she might say something like, "Oh no, sweetie, you don't really feel that way. You're just going through a phase. You'll see someday." Translation, please don't make me question my entire identity right now. I just came over for potato salad. They're not trying to be assholes. They're trying to restore the equilibrium of their universe. Because if you, someone they love and respect and maybe even birthed, sees the world differently, then suddenly their view could be in jeopardy. Especially if deep down they're not quite sure they feel authentic in their own lives. Even though each of our views are just one of the many flavors on the menu of life. And that is terrifying to the human ego, which wants to be right the way raccoons want trash, obsessively and without shame. Also, let's be honest, sometimes the people closest to us have known us for so long, they assume they got our entire psyche cataloged like an old Blockbuster inventory. So when we grow or change or suddenly have boundaries, they may short circuit. When you assert a new truth, I believe this, I need this, I'm not okay with that. You're not just setting a boundary, you're shaking up the group dynamics. And group dynamics, especially in families or long-term friendships, are like old couches. Everyone knows exactly where to sit. When someone stands up and says, actually, I don't like this seat, people freak the fuck out. But that's your spot. We put the dip next to you because we know you don't like to talk that much. Where are you going? But you know what? Chicken butt. The people who push back the hardest are often the ones who deep down wish they could do what you're doing. They wish they could say no, speak up, be themselves, but they're scared. So when you do it, it stirs something in them, something raw and real and uncomfortably human. And instead of saying, wow, that's brave, they say, are you sure? Because that's easier than dealing with their own shit. So no, they're not bad people. And, most of them are not plotting your psychological demise. They're just scared, confused, maybe a little envious, and probably still kind of convinced that their way is the way, because that's what they were told. And let's be honest, a lot of people are still emotionally sponsored by 1967. So what do we do in these moments? We breathe, we stay rooted in our truth, we let them have their reaction while we keep our damn seat at the grown-up table of self-awareness. And we remember our belief doesn't need a permission slip. Our stance doesn't need a committee vote, and our opinion, it's not a crime against humanity. It's a declaration of self, even if it makes the people we love raise an eyebrow and clutch their emotional pearls. And using our voice can be really difficult when the way we feel about a thing is unpopular. Maybe our opinion on a situation or our boundaries or our actual dreams don't get a round of applause from the crowd. But you know what? Most of the crowd is completely enthralled and looking through the kaleidoscope of their own projections. We all do it. And half of them don't even know what they want for lunch, let alone what you should do with your life. So, what about using our voice in the collective? Is that the same as in our personal life? So using your voice in your personal life is like saying, hey, I'm here, I matter, and I'd really like you to stop playing devil's advocate during every emotionally vulnerable moment I share. It's intimate, it's up close, it's the emotional equivalent of taking your bra off. And using your voice in the collective is similar, but instead of taking your bra off in front of your partner or your friend or Aunt Jackie, who still doesn't understand boundaries, you're doing it in public, in daylight, with a megaphone, and possibly while holding a sign and trying to chant in unison with people you've never met. In both cases, you're showing up for what you believe. But in personal life, it's usually about taking care of yourself, your needs, your relationships. And in the collective, it's about trying to use your voice like a giant tuning fork, vibrating out into the world in hopes that other people will go, yeah, that matters to me too. But both require you to get clear on what you believe, because using your voice in the collective means you have to stand in the messy middle of, I care about this deeply, and I know not everyone's going to agree. Which is hard, especially if you're a recovering people pleaser who still breaks into a full body sweat when someone raises an eyebrow at your opinion on oat milk. But here's the good news. You don't have to be loud to be heard. But you can be, but you don't have to be. You don't have to be perfect or polished or a walking Wikipedia article. You just have to show up with your own honest, messy, thoughtful voice. You can speak out in a way that reflects you. Some people protest in the streets, some write, some vote, some have uncomfortable but important conversations at family barbecues while dabbing their forehead sweat with a barbecue sauce-covered napkin. The most effective way to use your voice in the collective? Use it like it matters, because it does. Speak about what you believe, not from rage or shame or the need to be right, but from love, from care, from I want this world to feel a little more like something we all belong to. It's not about yelling into the void or about attacking. It's about adding your voice to the conversation in a way that's true to you. Thoughtful, grounded, maybe even funny, because you know what? Humor is the spoonful of sugar that helps the holy shit go down. So both speaking up personally and speaking up collectively come from the same core truth. You have something to say, and the world, whether it's your roommate, your workplace, the big messy collective we all live in, might really benefit from hearing it. And using your voice might just be the thing that helps someone else find theirs. Okay, friends, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of actually saying the fucking thing. Because it's one thing to say, use your voice, like we're in a motivational sporty leggings commercial. And it's another thing to actually know how to do it without spiraling into existential dread. So here are some motherfucking tips to help you start using that glorious, wobbly, powerful voice of yours. Number 1, practice it to yourself. Yeah, it might feel ridiculous, but practicing saying what you actually want to say out loud to your own face, like looking in the mirror, or maybe just even saying it out loud. And if someone asks you what you're doing, just tell them you're practicing your lines for a play. I don't want to go to that. That made me uncomfortable. I want a raise, and I believe I deserve it. Say it until it sounds less like a hostage negotiation and more like a truth. Or get your voice on paper by journaling, even if it's just a paragraph of complaining or a monologue about why socks disappear in the dryer. Let your inner voice be uncensored. The weirder, the better. Eventually, that voice gets louder, clearer, and sassier. Number 2, pause before you people please. That moment, that exact second before you say, sure, out of habit, just take a moment, breathe, ask yourself, do I actually want to do this, or am I just trying to manage someone else's comfort? If it's the latter, fuck that shit. Choose you. I mean, because many times you do actually want to do whatever the thing is, but when you don't, say it, queen. You know, maybe when you feel that tightness in your chest, that moment where the fear says, maybe just go along. Take a breath, pause, and gently ask yourself, what if my saying my truth is actually the most loving thing I could do for myself and BTW for the other person? Because, you know, resentment builds. And the next thing you know, all kinds of crazy shit is happening. Number 3, remind yourself that, like Gloria Gaynor said, you will survive if they don't like it. Fear of reaction is the number 1 reason that muzzles us. But guess what? People might get mad. They might get confused. They might even be uncomfortable. That's not your job to fix, babe. Your only job is to speak your truth. And like Mother Mary, speaking words of wisdom, said, let it be. And real quick, if you are in a dangerous, abusive situation where you will not be fine if you speak your truth, do not speak your truth to your abuser, but to someone who can help, and then quietly remove yourself from the situation. Number 4, celebrate every time you speak up, even if your voice shakes, even if it came out weird, even if you stuttered, cried, or said it later than you meant to. Celebrate the fuck out of that. That's growth, baby. That's you getting free. Your voice is not too much. You were just taught to shrink. But now you're stretching out, expanding, getting louder. Keep going. You're doing it right. Using your voice is not you being difficult. It's you being you. And you, just as you are, no filter, no edit, are enough. Every time you speak from that place, even if it's shaky or awkward or followed by 10 minutes of, did I say that weird? You're getting closer to the real you. And that version, she's worth knowing. She's been in there the whole time, just waiting for you to give her the mic. Even if it comes out funny, even if you immediately say, that made sense in my head, you're not being dramatic. You're being alive. And that, my dear, is the grooviest, most badass thing you can be. And in the collective, use your voice with love, lead with your heart, and remember the collective doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to be in it with your voice, your values, and your beautifully imperfect humanity. Using your voice takes courage, but it's also the fastest way home to yourself. So say the fucking thing imperfectly, beautifully, authentically, because that is you showing up with love for you. All right. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Spiritual Shitshow podcast. My name is Suzanne Sole, and I fucking love you so motherfucking much. Okay, darling, roll it. Yeah, you can just say whatever you want after you roll it.